I'm Leslie Nielsen, and welcome to the second part of our show, where we get an advanced peek at some of the scenes from Back to the Future Part 2, and a look behind the scenes at both Back to the Futures. Now, the new second chapter of the Back to the Future saga is a Part 2 in the truest sense of the term. And in the spirit of the old Saturday afternoon serials, Part 2 begins exactly where Part 1 left off.
And action!
Marty!
Back to the Future 2 is actually a continuation of the first movie.
You've got to come back with me. Where? Back to the future.
Cut.
Being able to continue the story and being able to press and redefine the definition of the word sequel like it's never been done before, to me was what I wanted to do.
In Back to the Future Part 2, Marty, Doc, and the DeLorean travel 30 years into the future.
What do you mean we're in the future?
October 21st, 2015.
Marty, we're going to be able to see our wedding.
Wow.
And even though they're both seasoned time travelers, Doc has to warn Marty about the dangers of the future.
The future? Unbelievable. I gotta check this out, Doc.
All in good time, Marty. We're on a tight schedule here.
Tell me about my future. I mean, I know I make it big, but what do I become, like a rich rock star?
Please, Marty, no one should know too much about their own destiny.
Right. I am rich, though, right?
Ah, but we're getting a little ahead of ourselves.
Are we back?
We're back.
Everybody, guess what I'm doing again? Watching one movie and podcasting about it. Every day in March, it's Back to the Future 2. So listen each day, or at least try, as I bring you year 2 of Marchy McFly. It's Marchy McFly. Marchy McFly. It's Marchy McFly. Oh, Marchy McFly. It's Marchy McFly.
Happy Friday, everybody, and welcome back to Marchy McFly. It's day 11, Friday, March 11th, 2022, and today, this morning, I watched Back to the Future 2 for the 11th time in 11 days. I don't think I've watched this movie all the way through in one sitting since my vacation ended. Now, I had the day off today, but I had to bring my phone screen to get fixed because I dropped it. Picture this. I don't know if I've told you all this, but I left the dentist, got a filling, went out to the car, went to get into the car and dropped my phone, 2 feet onto pavement and just shattered the screen. Disastrous. And I let that kind of first I'm thinking, ooh, is this an excuse for me to get a new phone? Which is always like, oh, I need a new phone now. I'm that, terrible, like, as far as like thinking, investing in gadgets and, oh no, my gadget broke. Give me a new one. Instead, I finally took it to get it fixed and just got the screen back. So I watched some of the movie, dropped off the phone, came back, finished the film, and I got a call that my phone was fixed. So I picked it up, walked my dog. Here I am right at 2 p.m. on the dot and talking to you about Back to the Future 2 for the 11th straight day. I still have some notes, older notes. I feel like every day I'm taking new notes, but I'm still going back to older notes to talk about things. Like where we last left, Marty had, he said, we heard George and Biff and Lorraine through the magic window. Somehow we heard it like it was right next to us. Marty runs outside, sees fake George punch young Biff in the face. There were like photos of the fake George. Jeffrey Weissman, I think is the actor's name, in that scene. And it's just like, I remember being like, I don't remember this. I don't remember seeing this. And it's because those were close-ups, and this was all done from far away. And then even the scene where he walks off. Well, some of the scenes are from Back to the Future. Are you okay? Picking up Lorraine. That's Crispin Glover. And then you walking away, you see it's the fake George. What I also noticed, or it's funny, Marty said, excuse me, Marty said, oh, it's like deja vu. And it got me thinking, what would it be like to see two memories from two completely different angles? Like he has the memory of, well, I guess he never saw the punch originally. He just ran up and saw the outcome. And now he sees the punch. And it's like, it's kind of amazing when you think about it. It's like watching another version of you living your life. And Marty does that. And I feel like, does he do it again later? I think he walks in later after the DeLorean goes away. But I just wrote that down going, imagine having the memory, having two memories of the same moment from different angles. That is wild. Wild, I tell you. When Marty runs in, he goes up, he punches Biff again. And we get I think he took your wallet guy that I remember quoting that all the time as a kid. I think he took your wallet. I think he took his wallet. I don't know where that guy is. He looked familiar, but he looked like a guy who plays like a duck in a movie, like I'm the Duck Man, or like Baby Huey or something. But that was always just a kind of a funny quote. I don't know why the guy thought this giant magazine was his wallet, but it was a funny line and a funny delivery. There are certain things in this movie that every time they elicit a similar response. Marty raising his fist like he's going to punch old Biff, the final scene of the movie. And this, it always brings a smile to my face. Marty, when he's going in and he sees himself on stage playing guitar, and he kind of just looks at himself and gives a little nod like, not bad. Like he's judging himself playing. And as somewhat of a musician, whenever I listen back to myself, I go, that wasn't too bad. So I just enjoyed that. And just the kind of, all this is going on. Things are crazy. He's running around. He's running from Biff's friends, but this might have been right before he saw Biff's friends, but he was still running from them. And just the fact that he's like, not bad. But he grabs one thing that you poke into things, you poke holes into things. He picks up the walkie-talkies talking to Biff. He's like, Biff's guys are they're going to jump me. He's like, well, get out of there. He goes, not me, the me on stage playing Johnny Be Good. And Doc should have been like, Marty, I have no idea what you're talking about. Because I don't remember any moment when Marty said, okay, so then we went into the dance, and then they locked me in a trunk, and then they got me out, and then the guys, I guess the guys were racist to the band, but the band helped me out, and then they got me on stage to play guitar because Marvin cut his hand, and then they asked me to play another song, and Marty, all this time I'm trying to build this, and you're playing music on stage. I'm trying to build a weather machine. Well, that's what I call it, to get you back to the future, and you're busy playing guitar. And then a big argument ensues. I wrote, Doc is so worried about Marty running into Marty. Oh yeah, Doc is so worried about don't run into your former self, and he says it to Jen. He's like, but, my friends, Doc had no problem running into his former self. Now, it wasn't his future self, but it was his former self. So now that Doc has memories of meeting a guy who kind of reminds him of him. I used to think like, oh, this always happened this way because that's how time travel works. But this movie makes me think, no, there are offshoots of realities. So in the original Back to the Future timeline, Marty doesn't run at the end and catch up to Doc. That's a new timeline we're seeing every time. And so Doc originally doesn't meet another Doc, but this Doc is so worried. Oh, Jennifer, it could rip the fabric of time. Oh, Marty, you don't want to run into yourself. It could be catastrophic. Oh, look, there's the time machine. And I know 30 years ago, I was really working hard on this. Let me go interrupt this guy. Let me go put my bike down right here next to the experiment, and then be afraid like, oh no, how did this happen? Dude, the moment you saw the DeLorean, you should have been like, crap, and just pedaled out of there. Just got out of there, because you don't want to mess with anything. So worried about messing with things, and yet they had to have this cute little scene. And yes, it is a fun little scene where you see Doc interact with Doc. Nobody turns their head to look a little bit to the right and be like, oh my God, it's me. Like Doc Brown in 55 just kind of very rudely doesn't look at this man at all. The man gives him the other man gives him this wrench, doesn't look and realize, oh my gosh, that's me. Nope. And I do like that they use the pole as the separator of the film. That's how they do the trick photography of him handing him a wrench. Nowadays, they can do it all digitally seamless. It would look perfect. But then they, had one side of the frame was Doc, the other side was future Doc, and they used the pole light as like so that the hand, whoever a different person's hand could reach the wrench to him. And he's like, and then he says, well, maybe we'll meet in the future. Oh, the past. Whoa, dude. All that's going to do is be like, wait a second, what are you talking about? And what if he distracts Doc just a little bit? And the whole plan is ruined, in ruins. So back over to the dance. Marty needs to stop the thugs from jumping the original Marty and causing, him not to get back in time. Well, I'm thinking if this one, okay, I just thought of this now. So let's say the original Marty gets distracted and doesn't make it back to 1985. Would this Marty disappear? Would this Marty erase from existence? I think so. I think that's how it would work. His timeline, he would just go away, right? Because then I'm thinking maybe this Marty could jump into the DeLorean, but this Marty wouldn't be able to get back to the future to then have all the adventures, so he'd erase from existence. I wrote down, so Marty, I always like the scene where they recreate the guitar solo. I thought the guitar solo was a little longer, playing Johnny B. Good in the solo, but I like they recreate it. They have the new Marty, the inconspicuous Marty with the, inconspicuous, something inconspicuous. And he's wearing a leather jacket and a hat, kind of looking like Corey Feldman, who kind of looking like Michael Jackson. That's how I described it. He looks like Corey Feldman trying to look like Michael Jackson. And I thought to myself, I mentioned George Lucas yesterday, and I thought to myself, if George Lucas made these movies, there'd be a special edition in the Blu-ray, and in the Blu-ray of Back to the Future Part 1, you would see Marty crawling across the rafters. I feel like they would do that, even though I'm starting to think that wouldn't logically happen because this is a new timeline. I think. I don't know when. I guess that's still the original timeline. That's because he's there doing that. Oh boy. This is, I love trying to make sense of this stuff and realizing how little it matters that I make sense of a 30-year-old time travel, movie that's just silly. Marty sticking around to watch himself talk to his parents is stupid. To him, they're talking to Marty is very stupid. If he just left, boom, they're done. The story's done. Biff is afraid of George. Nothing else changes. But Marty can't help himself. Again, he's 17, so you have to take into consideration he's a young and a dum-dum. But he couldn't help himself. He's looking in the window, and of course they do that just for, because it's cool to see. And Biff shows up again. You'd cost $300 to my car. What did he say? Or I forget what he said. And he's like, "Now we're going to go." And Marty's like, "No, thanks." And he leaves. Again, all done. But, no, and Marty's, you think, Marty, the fact that you have to get this almanac away from this man, the future of your father, the man through that window is going to be murdered if you do not get that magazine out of there. Who gives a shit if they call you chicken? Just go. Just leave. But no. Biff calls him chicken. He's like, "Nobody called me." And it actually leads to one of the funnier parts of the movie where the original Marty goes out the door and smashes the other Marty in the face. And there's another stunt that I would love to know how they did it. Was the door not there and they just lined it up perfectly and then have him jump back? Like just kind of a split screen type of thing. It was so well done the way Marty, like I used to be like, wait a second, did he let them smash him with a door? It was very just perfectly timed stunt that they did. And oh my goodness, is that the end of my notes with my old app? I talked about jumping over to a new app. Yes, I think that's the end of my old notes. So why don't we see my new notes? Oh my goodness gracious. Okay. So I have a thought. I something I thought was kind of funny. I kind of worked this out, and it's like a alternate Back to the Future 2 fan fiction. So Marty makes some stupid mistakes because I chalk it up as him being 17. Biff is also 17. So let's say he's a little lackadaisical, and yes, the old Biff says, "Keep this book on you at all times." But young Biff's like, why do I have to do that? I'm just gonna put it in my bedroom, leave it under under my bed, or someplace, hide it in his room someplace. Okay, that's what he should have done. That's what I probably would have done. So I say, Biff doesn't take the book to the dance. Marty discovers that at some point and realizes, okay, I need to get out of here. And or he notices the book's not on, whatever. And I wrote, Marty has to break in to Gertrude Tannen's house. So Biff leaves. Marty hides in the garage. Biff leaves, or he jumps out of the car, whatever. They go back to the house. Marty goes back to the house. He breaks into Gertrude Tannen's house. Now, I didn't think all this through. I just wrote these quick little bullet points that I'm trying to flush out now. So he gets in there, and the old lady catches him. Now, she seemed like a pretty tough lady. She's got a gun. She's like, "What are you?" I forget how Gertrude Tannen talked. "Hey, Biff!" Like, "Hey!" That's a big cartoony voice. So she has a gun, and she pulls it on Marty. Like, "What are you doing in my house?" And I wrote down, Marty runs out of options and he chokes her to death. But that's stupid. That's stupid. So what I'm going to say is, so she's got a gun and Marty just freaks and rushes by her, bum rushes her, knocks the gun out of the way. The gun goes off, doesn't shoot anybody, but she falls, clips the side of her head on a countertop and just bleeds to death. She bleeds to death, and Biff comes home later that night and discovers his grandmama's corpse. and he freaks out, but Marty saves things, gets back to 1985. Okay, he finds out that Biff actually ends up in prison. He's in prison for the murder of his grandmother. And he was in for years, but he was finally paroled around 1984, 1985, maybe right then. Maybe he gets out, and as a revenge, he goes and he kills the entire McFly family. The prison just makes him rough, and he kills the entire McFly family. So all Biff had to do was leave the book there, and you'd think things would have been fine, but Marty would have screwed it up. Kills his grandmother. Biff gets framed for it, goes to prison, and as a revenge, he comes out and kills the entire McFly family. So Marty shows up back at the house, and the car isn't waxed, and he goes, "We have a new. Oh, Marty, go check out what you have in the garage." Marty opens the garage. There's the truck. And he's like, "Oh my goodness!" But what he doesn't see is, "How about a ride?" Boom! Right when Jen says, "How about a ride, mister?" Just boom! She's shot. Like, it's insane. Marty's like, "What? What?" And Biff comes in and goes, "I knew it was you. I knew it's been you for 30 years. I've been waiting. It all makes sense. I've seen, ever since I got out of prison, I've seen the pictures. You are Calvin Klein." And Marty goes, "Wait!" Bam! Bam! Shoots Marty. Kills him, and then out George and Lorraine walk out. They're like, "What's going on?" Bam, bam. He goes, or he shoots George, and then he's got Lorraine there, and she says, "You should have chose me." Ba bam, ba bam. And then Dave and Linda are like, "What's going on out there?" Just like Dave runs for his life. He's dragging away. Linda's gone. It's just it is carnage. Okay. I guess that's what I call flushing it out, all right. And then it just says the end. Oh, no. Wait, this is the end of part 2. So he has to go back and wake up Jennifer. But it still sounded funnier the original way. Again, none of it matters. But I don't know. I just had fun doing that. There's a couple articles I found. One is just one part of an article. It's is it from What Culture? Is that what it's from? These articles annoy me sometimes. What Culture, which I don't really love all that much. It's one of these things where, hey, okay, here's a little bit, and I'll click to the next one. They just want, they want your clicks. But it talks about something I've talked about, jumping back to 2015, Biff stealing the time machine, and at the end, just kind of coming back from the time machine and looking really sick. So this is 12 deleted scenes that explain confusing movie moments. This is number 6 in that article, Biff's Pain. I will share a link to this article in the show notes, but I'm going to read it anyway. It says, in an excellent dystopian sequel to Back to the Future. Okay, that's excellent's a tough one, which seems to be turning into an actual real-life world. Yeah. Marty McFly unwittingly hands the keys to the world's destruction to Biff Tannen when he leaves not only a time machine, but also the sports almanac in his reach. He duly goes back in time and changes the past and returns to the exact same point in 2015, creating a paradox that makes no sense. Well, again, that's what I've talked about. If he changed the past, how could he return to this future? And why did he return 5 minutes later? And it just says, weirdly, though, he gets out of the time machine as if he's been kicked in the testicles, hunched over, and is in clear discomfort. Nothing more is said of it, and he's never seen again. Yeah, again, that was dumb that they left that in. You can reshoot something, or you could just have him, I don't know, you'd have to get the DeLorean back somehow. Or he should have got out and he should have been, like, cool looking. I don't know. But then it shows the deleted scene, which I'm going to play in the future. It's the deleted scene of him disappearing. I'm going to talk about it more in the future, but this film actually initially showed some awareness of the issues of the paradox, as Biff's pain would have been explained by him fading out of existence in the future timeline. The deleted scene in question showed him literally disappearing, as he's been killed off. It says, as he's been killed off in 1996 by Lorraine when she discovered he killed George. This is according to the official Back to the Future FAQ. I don't know who says that, But Robert Zemeckis was quoted saying that it was cut because it was simply too confusing. This is his quote. "We actually filmed him falling into the street and vanishing, and we previewed the movie this way. However, the vast majority of the audience did not understand it, so we decided to cut it out, leaving the answer ambiguous and subject to various interpretations. Besides the above explanation, you can believe that old Biff had a heart attack from the shock of time travel, or from flying the car, or from something that happened in 1955. In other words, we cut it and we don't care. That's what I'm thinking. Yeah, you know what? We'll leave it ambiguous, up to the audience. That just bothers me tremendously. But I'll put a link to that if you want to see it. The deleted scene is in there. Again, I want to do an episode kind of focusing more on deleted scenes. This was a fun one. This is from Express, which I guess is some sort of British newspaper. So should I do it in a British accent? I'm not sure. But it says express.co.uk. And the name of the article is Back to the Future. There were 4 versions of the same DeLorean existing at once in 1955. Back to the Future 2 saw 4 DeLoreans existing at once in 1955. That's the subheadline by George Simpson. This is from June 22nd, 2020. I almost said last June, but years, they don't matter anymore. So I haven't read the article yet because I wanted to guess and figure out what the 4 DeLoreans are. And it makes sense. I just had to think about it a little bit, but we have number 1, the 1985 DeLorean from the first Back to the Future that Doc and Marty use at the end by the clock tower. Then we have number 2, Marty and Doc flying in with the flying DeLorean to save everything that happens in Back to the Future Part 2. That's also on November 12th, 1955. Number 3, we have Biff's, because he went back on the same day. So that DeLorean is there at the same time that they're there because Marty sees old Biff. So he takes the DeLorean. So that's DeLorean number 3. Then, and before I get to number 4, so the first DeLorean leaves with Marty at the end of this movie too. The second DeLorean leaves with Biff going back to 2015. The third DeLorean gets struck by lightning and goes back to 1885, and that leads me to the 4th DeLorean, which is that same DeLorean that gets struck by lightning. It's been in a cave, hidden away in some sort of cavern by Doc since 1885. So we have the original Back to the Future DeLorean, the Biff one, the Back to the Marty and Doc one from Part 2, and the one hidden in the cave in Part 3. Now, again, we don't know this until Part 3, but that's it. That's the 4 DeLoreans. I have to be right? So I'm going to go through the article right now. And let me see if I can get this all. According to Futurepedia, the first of the 4 DeLoreans to arrive is in the November 1955, is the one that's been buried over 70 years. Okay, that's the 4th one. And that's true. It is technically the first one to be there. It's been there for 70 years. It's the oldest DeLorean and it is the one accidentally struck by lightning that sent Doc back to 1885. So that's the second one. And then the second DeLorean, which also happens to be the youngest to arrive from the overlap, contains Marty at the start of the first one. Yep. Coming to the third one, which is Marty and Doc returning to 1955. And the 4th one, which is Biff's from 2015. Yes, I nailed it. I love it. I love that. And I remember seeing some article or a podcast saying that there were other DeLoreans in Part 3. Like there was an argument that there should be another one for them to use. But I don't know about that. And I can't wait to get there. But that's next year talk. So, yeah, I think I've covered everything. I have some other notes, But you know what? I'm going to save those. I'm going to save those because I've got time. I've got years. Months. Days. Weeks. Yeah. I still have 20 days, so almost 3 more weeks of Back to the Future 2. Every day. And then podcasting about it. Every day. Now that's the fun part. I have to say, watching the movie every day, some days it's better than others, but there are still those moments that I love every single time. And but talking about it every day, that's easy. That's fun. I look at a couple notes and then I just let my brain wander. And that's my style of podcasting. You should know by now. There's some planning, but a lot of it is me with the verbal diarrhea. Cha-cha-cha. And with that, I think it's time for me to call it a day. So I hope you have a nice weekend. And I'll know, but I should say that like I'm not going to hear from you till Monday, or you're not going to hear from me until Monday. Guess when you'll hear from me again? Tomorrow. Tomorrow, the podcast tomorrow. And every friggin' day after that. So, little homework for you. This podcast is called Geek Mentality. You know that. But this special is called Marchy McFly, year 2 of Marchy McFly. We are enjoying Back to the Future 2 every single day in March. You can find me on Twitter and on Instagram at Geek Mentality. The website is fansnotexperts.com. The Facebook page is Fans Not Experts. But everything we do can be found at fansnotexperts.com. A name I came up with because I was listening to sports radio and all these people are experts and it annoyed me. And I said, you know what? I like doing stuff and I have opinions, but I don't know what I'm talking about. I just know how I feel because I'm a fan, not an expert. Boom. And after that, oh my goodness, history was made. And ever since then, there's been dozens of people coming to my website over the years. Anyway, thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for subscribing. And until tomorrow, have a good rest of your Friday. And here is my theme song. This is my podcast. I made it. Geek Mentality's what I named it. And I think you should listen and subscribe. 'Cause I'm kinda funny and awesome. I think that I'm worth your time. And I'm kinda handsome. My mom says, please listen and please subscribe. At least listen to this episode.
Fans Not Experts.